You might relate to the scene that unfolded in my living room this week. The family gathered around, tuned into the Olympics, each one of us ready to cheer on our favorite athlete. And we marveled at the feats of the gymnast that looked so effortless. And we were amazed by the exact synchronization of the Chinese diving team. We were excited to hear the story of India's first female wrestler, and then delighted to find out that a mom in her 40s won the gold in the cyclist competition. Everywhere I went this week, people were having this collective conversation about the Olympics, how it inspired them, how it moved them. And each one of us were reminded of perhaps the potential that we haven't quite brought to light yet ourselves. I am Kimberly Faith, and I am on a quest to inspire women around the world to realize that each one of us has far more power than we think we do. If you have ever set a goal in your life and haven't quite achieved it, maybe life got in the way, or you find yourself taking a repetitive cycle and trying to reach and do something that's important to you and haven't quite gotten there, then you will want to stay plugged in for the next few minutes and gain some perspective and let's take a page out of the Olympian playbook and see what it is that they have to teach us. Now, in the last two videos, I shared with you a concept that at any given time, we have three different levels of thinking that we can choose from. We have the events level, which appears to be random. That's life when it just happens and happens and happens to us. It's like random dots on a graph. We have the patterns level of thinking. This is when we begin to connect the dots. We begin to guess what's going to happen next because we've lived through this before. And then we have the structure level of thinking. And that's anything, tangible or intangible, that drives our behavior. So let me show you how this works within the Olympics, and then I want to segue it to what your real life is about. See, do the Olympians, do these athletes have talent? Yes, hands down they have talent. Do they have a deep-seated mindset that they can do this? Sure, and I'm going to talk about that in a future video. But for today, I want us to focus on the structures that are in the life of an Olympic athlete that you can then think about it from your perspective. So let's think about it. An Olympic athlete has a coach. A coach is a mentor, someone who teaches them, someone who keeps them accountable, pushes them to be the best they can be. They have equipment that helps them do what their job is. They have facilities to go practice in and put all those hours in. They have processes and training techniques that help them have that competitive edge. And they have a schedule. Any story that you read, they have a schedule where they've spent countless hours and of their life and their time and their energy perfecting this craft, this sport that they're after. These are all structures that are influencing their behavior. So it's not just random. There's a lot of people out there that have talent, but they haven't matched it with structures in their life to be able to develop that talent. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Of all the coaching and the training that I've done with thousands of people, I find that we all have this untapped potential, or we all have some goals that we wanted to achieve. So how do we then translate that into our personal life? Most of us, we don't have a dream to become an Olympian per se, but I know from firsthand experience that sometimes going after a personal goal, it can feel like our own version of going after the opportunity to win that medal. My very first sprint triathlon looked like a daunting task to me many years ago. I trained and trained and trained, and all I wanted to do was reach the finish line, which I did, but I want you to know that I felt that elation of thinking, I've just won my own version of the gold. Well, let's take this into your own life. So I had somebody this week just tell me that they had a goal of trying to reduce their cholesterol, get off of their cholesterol medicine and be healthier. But the problem was that life kept getting in the way. So I want to show you how to walk through this model of events, patterns, and structures two different ways so that you can begin to see where the power lies. Now here's the way most people begin to handle events, patterns, and structures. They described their life to me, this person who was trying to decrease their cholesterol. They had a lot happen. They had new family members join the family. They had a move, a demanding boss, and he was listing all of these events that were happening and keeping him very, very busy. He could barely keep his head above water. Well, those were the events. Well, then he was trying to describe the patterns, and the more he went into it, he didn't have time to go do things like take care of himself. The stress would make him stay up extra late at night trying to get everything else done. He wouldn't sleep well. If he was trying to take care of different projects, whether it was work or personal, then what would happen is he would begin to stress eat. And he was in this pattern of cycles that weren't helping what it is that he wanted to achieve. He didn't even have time to get up to the structures because he just simply was doing all he could trying to manage from the events and the patterns. It was almost like pushing water uphill. Now, what if for a moment we stopped and we erased that perspective and we gave ourselves a blank slate? And so there we were analyzing what the situation was up, but we make change down. And that's what I want you to write down to yourself, make change down. What if we took the same situation and what if we started at the structure level of thinking? And we said, okay, if I want to reduce my cholesterol and I want to get healthier, what structures can I put in place to drive my behavior? Well, I just went through this analysis where we were analyzing up, right? Well, the first thing I realized is that I need to figure out this issue of sleep. So he put a structure in place to handle his sleep. Maybe he got on some sleep medication. Maybe he made time to go to bed earlier. Maybe he stopped being on his phone right before he went to bed. But he began to think through, what are some structures I can put in place? How do I get more healthy food in my system instead of always going to grab fast food? Well, he started thinking about what structures he could put in place. And he went through and listed some structures, and for the first time he had this light in his face and he said, you think I can really do this? I said, I absolutely know you can. I've seen this same process work with thousands and thousands of people. And so when he started implementing the structures, what happened? Well, it turned around the patterns in his life. And instead of going in a downward spiral, he started to turn it in an upward spiral. And so by the time he actually had to handle the events in his life, he still had to handle them. We'll never get out of handling all of the events, but he handled it better. And he was owning that power because he was putting the structures in place to drive his behavior. So I want you to think about this concept. Above this video on Facebook, you can download a PDF. That's a worksheet to help you look at your own life and take you through the same kind of analysis. Figuring out, analyzing up, but the power lies in making change down. I encourage you to download it. I want you to figure out what it is in your life that you want to achieve. What is your own version of that Olympic goal that you have for your life? And together we can figure out how to make this a reality. Please stay tuned in for these series. I have a whole lot more videos coming to show you how you can make change one day at a time.